I was just at an OSHA meeting as well, and it had to do with chemical companies and chemical spills. And they're like, well, how much do you really have to spill to make it a report to OSHA? And they're like, who do you work for? Right? Like any amount, you spill any of the amount, you have to report it. But in reality, it's not getting reported. If you're actually showing your due diligence to OSHA and saying, even for this little amount, or even for, we just wanted to check in, then they kind of give you more of a green light and say, oh, these guys are more proactive. And, they'll be a little easier when it comes to any kind of audit.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Frontline Advantage. This is our first episode since our shift toward operations and safety, really emphasizing the value of our solution around quickly identifying issues that may be affecting executives, board members, the workforce, to the extent that they may actually shut down production if these issues aren't resolved. Or folks like OSHA may be coming to your location to actually intervene because you've had a number of incidents, inspections, violations, accidents, and more. We've already seen good resonance with the solution, and so we wanted to bring someone on who knows a bit more about safety than we do. His name's Rob Guerrieri. He is actually on the board for the Center of Supply Chain Research at Lehigh University. He's also been a VP at a number of other companies, currently now working with RainScales, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about RainScales, his background, and the technology they have. So welcome, Rob.
I appreciate this opportunity.
Absolutely. So Rob, tell us a little bit about RainScales and your background involved with both supply chain, operations, and safety.
So my background is I have 28 years experience in supply chain. Mainly that has been focused on data integration, basically all the data behind the supply chain. When you're talking about that, it's like EDI, APIs, integration to applications between trading partners, suppliers, 3PLs, et cetera. I joined RainScales just recently because it was kind of interesting. The gentleman, Tui Mai, who owned DI Central, which I worked for and was acquired by True Commerce, he sold his company 3 years ago to True Commerce for a few $100 million. He's a technology guy. He's actually a really interesting guy. Tui Mai he's Vietnamese, but he grew up on the south side of Chicago, went to University of Illinois, and then ended up working at NASA in mission control until starting DI Central, which we sold again 3 years ago. So he took that, his money that he walked away with, and he came across a company that was doing computer vision for autonomous vehicles for a major OEM in Japan. And he bought this company out of Tokyo. And he, as a technology guy, he wanted to reposition the technology for the warehouse safety, operations, and security industry, and to take it to scale, be able to scale that globally and very quickly. So using a lot of his expertise prior in the industry, and then also a team of we have 400 people in Vietnam right now that are AI trainers, which is very specific for the type of AI computer vision that we're doing. It's very specific for the client. It can be scaled very custom to exactly to their needs. So it's kind of the background. So I joined up again, and it's been really interesting because it's hot. It's a hot area right now, and we're getting a lot of interest and traction with a lot of major people that manage a lot of warehouses, both huge, some of the biggest manufacturing companies, big chemical companies, big 3PL companies, big construction companies, fracking companies, recycling companies. There's no reason you can have a computer behind the screen now, behind the CCTVs. There's no reason to have a human behind it, and it doesn't miss a beat. It captures everything. So you have, it can count pallets that's being carried. It can tell the speed of a vehicle. It can, scan barcode labels. It can, it could count the number of boxes going down a line, or, if a box falls on the floor, how long it sat on the floor, how, when a door opens or closes, how long that truck has been sitting there, people in the wrong area, if they're driving a forklift with while they're on their phone. Driving it too fast, driving it too close. People not walking in the walkways. Those types of scenarios. So there's a lot of value, and it's very interesting to see how popular it is, and how well it scales, and how well it works. As far as it doesn't. It takes a little training to begin with, and that's why we work with a lot of human in the loop trainers. That's the team that's in Vietnam, that you can get very specific to get to that 99.9% accuracy rate with computer vision.
Fantastic. So the product is called eMagicEyes, and I think visuals are always helpful for the audience to understand how the product might look and feel. So if we understand this correctly, there's visuals, there's boxes and diagrams that are drawn that show certain things happening, and people can quickly ask the types of questions or prompts you're talking about. How long has that box been sitting there? Are we noticing any unsafe behavior, such as people on their cell phones when they're on the forklift? But I'm guessing it's also very much designed to be preventative, to help organizations identify gaps before they become larger problems, which is the exact kind of thing we try to think about from a human or man perspective. The people you have on the shop floor, how do you get them to spot these? You're taking it to another level with saying, how do we leverage technology? Is that right? And can you kind of walk us through?
Yeah, great question. And it is a lot about culture and culture change and training with your employees, and getting them to have the buy-in from the get-go. A lot of people don't feel comfortable, always being watched, but they're always being watched anyway. Usually in most of these locations, the CCTV cameras are already there. But however, what you can do now is you can get the safety guys. When they come to town or they come to your shop, everyone lines up and does everything correctly. But the second they leave, they know it's not what's going on. And so in this case, you're taking the person away outside, from just watching these things on archive videos, and being able to be on the floor in near real time for the safety and security of their employees. They can have different alerts and go to different people if someone goes like this, or rather than something like this, and falls on the floor. Or, it also is going to be identifying those close calls to prevent and change that behavior, and show very specific training videos of, this isn't just generic. This is happening right here today, or happened yesterday, that, we need to take a look at this, to better train those individuals. So this is our logo. This is the product is called eMagicEyes. The company is called Rain Scales. We've been around for quite some time, focused on the autonomous car market in Japan, as well as doing some other things with checking maintenance on for the power companies on their power lines, and along those lines. So headquartered out of Houston, Texas. An office in Da Nang and Vietnam, and Tokyo, Japan. And as I was saying, this is all about, near real time, taking action, keeping your employees safe, being able to change culture and behavior. And by, basically empowering your employees at the employee level to take control. There is a kind of a quick start type of scenario where we can easily do a pilot or a pre-pilot, where you can just upload basically your archived videos, and then you can see, have eMagicEyes come back and show you what they could find in your, high volume areas with your archived videos. That's usually the easiest way. From there, we do a full POC, where we get connected in real time to your cameras at a location, and have some type of metrics that we're measuring for that location. A lot of this can be customized. Most of it is around safety. Whether it's PPE, unsafe, material handling equipment operations, reducing accidents. A lot of times though, what you need to show for management is that, there is some kind of return on investment beyond safety. Sometimes they look at safety as a byproduct of these types of solutions. So, there is ways of helping reduce damage by, you maybe better using the material handling equipment, not crushing appliances or, spearheading a barrel or something along those lines. And, a lot of this stuff is, we can scale it very simply based off of, customized detection rules. So we have, which is very important because again, you have to train the AI, is that we have a human in the loop that is, constantly training that until we get to a comfortable level of accuracy and, least amount of false positives. So that's also an important characteristic of this and the training of it, and being able to scale it for the companies. I could, to show you, I can give you some examples of this here. Again, these are the types of videos that you can see here. They don't want two motions at once. They wanted to go higher, then move in. This gentleman is using his phone, not using a walkway. A lot of times it's around the speed meter rule. This is also one where you can see this lady coming in. A lot of times they don't do breathalyzers on women in Asia because they're not drinkers traditionally. So that's someone that didn't. This is moving too many pallets at one time. They can only move 10. That was 11. Again, not using your walkway. This is an interesting one too, but based on the size of the truck, they want to identify how long that truck's been sitting there. If it's over an hour long, then they want an alert for that truck. That's why is it still sitting there at the loading dock. So that's a little bit more around operations and efficiency there.
That's great. These visuals are super helpful for people to get a feel of the solution. So to better understand, companies you were talking about, they can upload their own videos they have from archives and almost back test and see what kinds of things the product would be able to identify. And then I'm guessing there's also a capability to integrate with whatever they have in terms of live recording to be able to spot issues in real time. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, Vivek. So this is, again, a lot of the stuff you're seeing here, these examples have been just basically uploaded from archive for like a pre-POC to show that. But really, if you wanted to get the real-time data, part of that is having a hardware on site to be as real-time as possible.
And the hardware, is that something you integrate with? Or do you need to bring in a third-party set of hardware? How easy is it for people to get started?
No, typically we're using their CCTV cameras or, cameras that they have currently in place. And then, what we're setting up is just kind of a game server, a small little gnome that basically is doing a lot of the pre-processing there because, again, there's a lot of bandwidth. We don't have bandwidth issues, especially in real time. So the alerts are, the exceptions are sent up to the cloud, to the dashboard, but, the pre-processing is done on site.
Very interesting. And talk about some of your success stories too. I know you shared those with me prior to our conversation, but what have been some of the results and success metrics people have been able to achieve?
Well, a lot of it is around safety. So here, let me, if I can show you here again, let me go over to this here. Is a lot of it is basically around safety and keeping your employees safe. So, this is a case study that was done by Linfox. Linfox is the largest privately owned 3PL in the Asia Pacific area. They have about 90 warehouses. I believe the warehouses are fairly large warehouses here. I forget what the amount size here. Okay, here, I guess this is one using existing infrastructure. Is to kind of give you an idea of the size of the locations. And, these are some of the rules they have in place here as far as the 3-meter rule, material handling equipment, moving with forks up, pushing pallets on the floor, arms, legs outside of the MHE frame, moving a loose load. These are some of the things that they go, and they have different severity levels. And a lot of this to make it successful and not to have too much noise, that would drive them crazy and not allow them to do their jobs. They do prioritize these monitoring, and here we go, monitoring in the reporting process. So, again, they do it from the bottom up approach, where really it only gets to, the management level after you're going, just a limited amount of the things that are going to go to yes, no, approve, yes, no, approve to a higher level. So it cuts down on a lot of the noise that's involved with it. And, so this, for this all to work, though, again, it's change management. It's getting, the buy-in from the user level to, why are we doing this? What is important to us? What are the issues? And that's the implementation of the system. We're not just pushing technology, down the throats of your employees. I mean, it's really the culture. It's a change of culture, and it's a matter of understanding the awareness to take the action, and and what you're going to do with the technology.
Love that slide. Talks really about how you get buy-in. The executives can sign off on a solution, but if people throughout the organization don't actually buy into making it successful, it can be challenging to kind of hit the benefits that are talked about. This makes a ton of sense to me. What is the number one challenge today in terms of getting this integrated across more organizations? Is it an awareness factor? Is it AI adoption? Is it competition of the status quo or other players? What kind of keeps you up at night in terms of thinking about how to help grow the business?
Sure. I mean, a lot of it is just competing priorities. I mean, there's a lot of, the margins are thin in distribution, and they have to produce. And, when you have tariffs and, things chipping away at the margins, I mean, a lot of times the priority for these companies is, oh, no, we're pretty safe. We have a safe culture, and, not really thinking about it until there's an accident, a collision, and OSHA's in there and they have big fines, and it's an issue. So, I mean, as I mentioned before, a lot of what we're doing here with these companies is we have to show operational efficiencies to help kind of pay for the safety for it to actually go in place. And that's been the challenge of, making sure you can show an ROI. And actually, I'm going to be having a conversation about this in about another hour here.
I fully agree with you on the point around operational efficiency. It's something we think about too with our categories, how we think about business outcomes and prompts. Safety is obviously a key component around operations, operational efficiency, but you can talk about quality, audit, compliance, production, you name it. So that's something fully agree with. And, even in relation to safety, we were talking with someone, a former OSHA inspector yesterday, and what seems to affect companies the most isn't whether they get the inspection or a violation and the fine itself. It's that when they're bidding on projects, they have to list the number of violations they have. And sometimes if they have those violations, it prevents them from being able to bid on projects, which affects them a lot more than the fine itself. So perhaps sometimes realizing the effects and ramifications of how things may affect them. And that's a bit more in the construction industry, for example. But it is interesting to constantly think about the ROI and demonstrate that. We find that so critical in a lot of these industrial environments as well. I know we're coming up on time, Rob. Go ahead, please.
You mentioned that, though, because I was just at an OSHA meeting as well, and it had to do with a lot with the chemical companies and chemical spills. And they're like, well, how much do you really have to spill to make it a report to OSHA? And they're like, well, what? Who do you work for? Right? They're like, any amount. You spill any of the amount, you have to report it. So then, again, but in reality, it's not getting reported because, they have to list all the reports. And, in OSHA, and then also too, if you're not reporting, if you're actually showing your due diligence to OSHA and saying, even for this little amount, or even we just wanted to check in, then they kind of give you more of a green light and say, oh, these guys are more proactive. And, they'll be a little easier when it comes to any kind of audit that comes down their way.
You're absolutely right. And Rob, I know we're coming up on time. So I just want to leave a few moments for you. If there's anything else you want to say, I've really enjoyed this discussion. I think you've packed a lot of intelligent info in the time we've had, but anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
It is pretty amazing, all the use cases that come up everyone we talk to with the technology that, every time we present it to someone, they're like, oh, can we do it for this or use it for this? And the answer typically is always yes. It can do facial recognition. It cannot do it if you want. If you want to blur the image, because of privacy issues. So it's really flexible, and it's just why now? It's kind of like just because NVIDIA has faster chips and we have the technology with AI. I mean, it's the timing is now, and there's no reason to actually have a person sitting behind there. And our cost is typically less than a human being per location. So it's very efficient. And
Yeah, you're just saying that makes me think of the TSA security checkpoint agents where they're sitting in front of a screen for, hours on end looking at all the luggage come through. And in reality, something like your solution or AI in general can help very quickly pinpoint areas they should focus on. So there's a combination of AI plus human, right? AI is able to detect, but ultimately you want the human to do the final verification on things. Yeah.
but then the next step from that, though, is then the agentic AI, right? Is then it's making decisions and turning off a valve, or shutting something down if it does detect something, or usually it's contacting an authority of some sort. But you can take
Yeah.
that extra step now.
Fantastic conversation. Thank you so much, Rob. Really appreciate your time.